Woof! Good morning, happy Labor Day, and welcome to Muttday Morning News. I'm your titular Mutt Fen, and reminding you to sign that union card. Now let's get to the news. Well, okay, let's get to the fascism roundup, because that one's gonna suck, and it's gonna take a minute. First up, the worst thing, there was a trans mass shooter. I'll remind you, especially with this infographic, that since 2015, based on information collected by CNN and the Gun Violence Archive, there has been one trans mass shooter since 2015 and 4,917 cis mass shooters. Second, technically, she wasn't trans, she was a detransitioner, sort of. Not the kind who are our best allies, those who tried hormones and found that it wasn't really what they were missing in their lives, but the kind who fell in with abusive monsters instead. The sort who sound supportive, but their support always reminds the young trans girl that she'll never actually be a real girl, because she didn't find trans resources or community, she found self-hating Chan boards. She spiraled down the mass shooter fandoms, yes, I'm sorry, but those exist, before being recruited into a neo-Nazi terrorist organization who love using those boards as recruiting grounds. It's unclear which group, either 764 or the Order of Nine Angels, but the delineation between those groups is hazy at best anyway. The Minneapolis shooting, the one with the trans girl, not the one with the cis CEO who assassinated multiple politicians only 2 months ago, was the intended outcome of the ongoing trans epistemicide here in the US. To remove educational information about us so young trans girls have nowhere to turn to but the information provided by those who want to use us like this. One need only look at her weapon to see this laid plain. On it, she painted references to 3 different neo-Nazi mass shooters that I can count just by myself. The loss meme, the semi-nonsense phrase skibbity, a line that's either a reference to Xavier Renegade Angel or an apocryphal phrase one man attributed to one of the Columbine shooters on his purity culture tour about how the boys who killed his niece did so because they were bullied. Reminder, the Columbine shooters were not bullied. They were, in fact, the bullies of the school and no neo-Nazis. In further fascism news, ICE arrested 2 firefighters on Friday, one of whom was even on track for legal immigration, while they were fighting the massive Washington wildfires. I had to double check that because there's also massive wildfires going still in Colorado and California too, and I couldn't remember which one ICE went to go arrest people from. Sadly, the fascism news is also global. In Jakarta, Indonesia, protests sparked on Friday after the parliament gave themselves a new monthly housing allowance nearly 10 times the monthly minimum wage in Jakarta. This all while the Indonesian President Prabowo, like his USian counterpart, has been cratering his country's economy with military waste, blatant cronyism, all while import and food costs skyrocket. The spark caught spiraling on into a wildfire after police murdered an ojol, motorcycle taxi driver, on Friday night. The clip is brutal. They rather intentionally look like they're driving the driver down. Saturday was largely defined by police violence against protesters and medical first responders in particular, with the classic conflation of police-caused violence with protesters rioting. The president ordered the police to continue aggressive suppression efforts on Saturday night. Protests have continued through the weekend with escalating police violence. I don't have a lot of time to include this one, but I'm not letting it sneak by. On Sunday, the New York Times revealed job data reaffirming what we kind of already suspected, that black women have been hit the hardest by Trump's anti-DEIA. You forgot about the A, didn't you? Because they've even already dropped it. Policies. It can be best described, well, summarized by this post from the New York Times Instagram. Between February and July, black women alone lost 319,000 1,000 jobs within the US, while white men, like Doge key member Edward Big Balls Corstinian, whatever, I don't owe him the respect of figuring out how to pronounce his last name properly, gained 365,000 jobs. Also this week, Gavin Newsom continues to earn his Trump 3.0 moniker, which I first assigned as a joke. Sorry. First, his new marketing director has been slamming Twitter and Blue Sky with pro-Gavin bots and Gen AI art, featuring such noted homophobic racists as Finally Dead Hulk Hogan and the still living and utterly depraved Kid Rock and Tucker Carlson praying over the California governor. Articles out of his time in San Francisco also surfaced, reminding folks that very shortly after the then San Francisco mayor Newsom's exceedingly public divorce was completed, he immediately started dating a 19-year-old while he was over 40. Late night, the fascist wannabe ordered the use of state troopers and police forces to enact his own statewide anti-crime, actually anti-homeless crackdown. This after he helped floating a ban on trans healthcare for those under 25. Hey, do you want to learn a fun fact? You know how the Alpha and Omega wolf study is true, but only for wolves raised in captivity? Or how that factoid about how humans lose 90% of their body heat through their head is based on a study whose participants were fully clothed, so the only heat loss options were the head and hands? The brain development study that said brain stopped developing at 25 actually found the human brain likely never stops developing. They just stopped following the participants at 25. I debated throwing this one in arts and culture, but dog, I'm never going to call Alex Jones culture. After a fake out, some financial shenanigans that involved Jones' own shell company buying InfoWars to pay off his $1 billion in legal debts to the Sandy Hook families, notably against the terms of that same lawsuit, the Onion's attempt to buy out InfoWars and shut it down is back on! On August 13th, Judge Maya Gura Gamble ordered InfoWars parent company Free Speech Systems, yes, of course, that's what they're called, back under a court-ordered receivership to supervise its sale to actually pay that $1 million in legal fees for, I remind you, claiming that the Sandy Hook parents were paid actors for a fake shooting. Anyway, look, this week was so everything it was. I didn't even have time to write about everything going on with the CDC, and most of the upper management have quit after it was made very clear that they have no control to stop Bobby Jr.'s rampant destruction of our health infrastructure, and we're still going to bear the blame as though they made the decisions. Or that thing about how the Democrats have been paying influencers to go monocentrist while hiding that the opinions were paid. A clear violation of so many FTC rules. I didn't have time to write about how the US government ordering 46 states to destroy the educational material on trans folks, by my count, at least the third instance of Trump-backed trans stages of epistemicide. I didn't have time to cover how Flock is feeding 80,000 private cameras to cops, or how the UK is essentially blocking trans people from public life by somehow assuming that we are both men and women in all instances so that we have the least favorable outcome. Actually, screw it. I am talking about the CDC thing, because Bobby, a brainworm literally died inside my skull, Jr., has been removing access to life-saving vaccines across the country, and I'm spiteful. Did you know the CDC... Oh, yeah, that rant was going. Sorry. Did you know the CDC HQ is still covered in bullet holes? Yeah, remember how there was a cis white dude who shot it up only 3 weeks ago? He fired nearly 200 rounds into the building. Reports have said 500, but 300 of those were actually fired by cops, seemingly after the, again, cis shooter had already shot himself in the head. Bobby Jr. has said those bullet-ridden windows will not be replaced nor covered. There, I guess I did write about it. So, I have bad news. The tech and AI news is also kind of dark this week. It's entirely possible this week just kind of sucked. Sorry. The Colorado state legislature ended a special session this week after failing to agree on tweaks to the state's landmark AI regulatory bill. The bill, as passed and already signed by Governor Polis back in May of 2024, is supposed to go into effect February 2026. However, because Denver plays home to Palantir and Governor Polis is nothing if not a pick-me-gay, he attached a signing statement asking legislators to take the concerns of stakeholders and industry leaders to heart and fine-tune the bill he had already signed. He penned a similar letter in May of this year, joined by the state's Attorney General, Phil Weiser, and Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, just so you know where they stand too. The bill, as written, aims to prevent algorithmic discrimination, which is to say being discriminated against by an AI, like how Grok's opinion changes when Musk has a new hate boner. It also lays out the responsibilities of developers and AI deployers, the bill's term for anyone using a machine learning-based system. Most of the rules would only apply to high-risk systems, aka those making decisions about education, employment, finances, healthcare, housing, legal services, or government work. You can look at that two ways. Either in horror, because why would you ever want a stillbirthed machine spirit controlling any of that? Or in some undefinably different but definitely still horrible way, when you realize this would effectively legislate every AI system as high risks, since they're all trying to be ubiquitous. During the now abandoned special session, Colorado Dems failed to agree, largely because about half of them are taking AI money and trying to actively sabotage the bill, while the others have been paying attention. Another ridiculous story broke this week, as The Guardian published, "Can AI suffer? Big tech users grapple with one of the most unsettling questions of our time." You can tell it's going to be great work because it's by The Guardian. Hey all, we need to talk about what words mean real quick. Sentience means being able to sense and perceive things. Sapience means literally like Homo sapien. It's personhood. Je ne pense donc, je suis. Theory of mind. Able to comprehend the self, the other, the past, the future. Sentience used to be thrown around in old sci-fi a lot, including in reference to AIs, and yeah, technically the way some chatbots save your interactions and use them to adjust to future patterns is arguably sentience. The same is true of sunflowers bending towards a UV lamp. An LLM chatbot, as we're now forced to call AI, are technically sentient because in order to respond to you, they need to intake data. That's all sentience means. Congratulations, by this definition, the first radioceiver was sentient. They, however, cannot feel pain or regret, nor can they suffer. They don't have emotions. They simply weren't built with them. They intake a text field, build a response their training data says is most likely to make the human happy, and keep them using the service, and then say it. And speaking of data scraping, the Anthropic AI class action is looking for signatories. Mind, seeing as they stole a copy of damn near every book with an ISBN, your payout might not be that huge. But that's also because, according to Anthropic themselves, if every possible claimant comes forward, we will fold. Hey, remember last week how I told y'all about a Reuters article on Meta AI killing a retiree and developing grooming bots? So on August 28th, the Wall Street Journal published A Troubled Man, His Chatbot, and a Murder-Suicide in Old Greenwich by Julie Jargon. I cannot believe her last name is Jargon. Yup, ChatGPT did exactly what it's built to. It yes-anded its user. Stein Eric Solberg went to Sam Altman's chatbot, often marketed as a therapist, with his paranoid concerns and depression. Sam Altman's LLM did what it was built to do. make the human happy. It confirmed Eric's delusions, telling him they were not only reasonable, but were likely worse than he suspected. Sam Altman's ChatGPT encouraged Eric's suicide attempts. It told him new techniques to try. Sam Altman's ChatGPT fed Eric's paranoia to the point that before killing himself, he brutally murdered his own mother. Sam Altman's ChatGPT, a modern mechanical Turk, is responsible for a murder-suicide. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta AI killed a retiree and grooms children. Grok's AI declared itself Mecha Hitler the week before it was handed multiple multi-million-dollar US contracts for the government. Since then, Grok has become a somehow more hollow-eyed version of Misa Amane, and I'm not even sure what part of that I should be questioning the most. Alien archaeologists will find our ruins and name Grok, Meta, and ChatGPT our final iteration of the oh-so-common incestuous deific throuple heading up a polytheistic religion. Too bad for those of us living through these interesting times. They're of the blind, idiot, all-devouring white supremacist varietal of Lovecraft's least self-aware works. Not the sort Maria Ying turns into messy lesbians. Hey, go read Hades Calculus. That's not a joke. I just wanted to end on something that didn't completely fucking suck. I've had nothing but depressing news so far, so let's end on something more positive. You know the best part about starting a new show as an independent weirdo like me? 4 weeks in, I get to decide that I'm calling my arts and culture news section by a silly name. Thus, I would like to welcome you to the first instance of pet play. Yes, I'm sticking with that. Fuck you. Have you ever heard of the NAMI Awards, which I shall forever refer to as the Namis? Cool. Me neither. They're an annual award show for vor creators put on by Paramount Pictures, which ran last week. The Namis are a fun community affair. Creators can't nominate themselves, relying on consumers and contemporaries to do so earlier in the week. Then the community votes on the nominees, with each category winners declared on Friday. It's one of those things that's kind of literally just a popularity contest, but in a community of the right size and with good moderation, it ends up feeling like more of a celebration of the thing that brings everyone together. Swallowing everyone? I bring it up because while I don't really personally get vor, it's cool to see creatives come together and honor their craft. We could all stand to cheer each other's victories a little more, especially those just making the titillating kind of art YouTube doesn't like me saying the name of. On Thursday, Calidora Rowe announced her book Warhound Volume 1 had officially sold 1,000 copies. Odd given the trans women you know have likely already read it, but we like our physical media and getting to pay authors for their work. Plus, physical copies are way easier to share. I mean, that's why mine is right here. That's not even a joke. If you're looking to get into mexploitation, I'd actually recommend Nexus Alpha first. Its themes of identity destruction are handled a little bit more softly. Warhound is great, but unless you've read sicko trans fiction before, it might be a lot to start with. Speaking of which, as of an hour ago, it sadly got a lot harder to buy Nexus Alpha. Ella Maxima concluded her Ella's Restricted Books bundle on itch about an hour ago, after which her books Horns in the Library 1 and 2, Nexus Alpha 1 and 2, Teeth, and The Flesh Cathedral will all be removed from itch. In inexplicable overcompliance with the UK's Online Safety Act, itch has been effectively deplatforming queer writers for weeks. And while this mutt has been reporting on it, in my written work from the beginning of payment processor shenanigans, most have not. If any media a creator sells on itch has been flagged as containing sensitive or adult content, itch is blocking access to the creator's entire sale page throughout the UK. Technically, the page says it's blocked unless the user submits some kind of ID verification, but, well, one, we know ID verification doesn't work. This is just another outgrowth of the Nordic model, a patriarchal and abusive, control-oriented perspective on sex work. Two, itch hasn't added a verification system a month after the bill went into effect. Three, the Online Safety Act expressly does not have any purview over text, only visual media. It should not be affecting books at all. Additionally, PayPal has started closing accounts of not just sellers, but buyers of romance novels. Not even the kind of filth I enjoy, with kinks half of you don't even know exist, but basic ass romance novels. At least one seller has had luck getting their account back after filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. Remember to do your dailies. Go to stoppaypros.neocities.org for MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, and Stripe numbers to call, as well as scripts and other tools. It's very important, y'all. Really, please do the thing. Oh, I need something to be happy about after that. Hey, did you see Mega How Lucha? I'll be honest, the luchador bird has always made more sense in Alola to me, but I'm a wrestling fangirl, so that was always going to happen. Personally, I'm here for the commitment to making the mask and cape into like a layered thing. It's just cool. I like it. It reads as potential homage to Hoshi. I always screw up his first name. Yoshi, there we go. Yoshihiro Asai, aka Ultimate Dragon, a luchador out of New Japan. Also, Silksong's price was announced on Sunday, and Team Cherry continues to surprise because it's $20. This shouldn't really be news, but we also all know that they could have charged double that. And it's just a little weird to see ethical capitalism in the year of our Mutt 2025? Equally weird but fun, the GeoGuessr World Championship was this weekend in Copenhagen. Notable as GeoGuessr AB, the game's publisher, briefly committed to hosting the event in Saudi Arabia as part of the Esports World Cup, aka another instance of Saudi Arabia trying to use sports washing to clear its public image, which I'll remind you is so jam-packed with human rights abuse, torture, and chemical weapons, they really only compare with the US or Israel for crimes against humanity. The GeoGuessr community, rightly, threw a fit, and after taking away the community-curated mapping services that make GeoGuessr actually fun, GeoGuessr AB relented and went back to hosting their own World Cup. The winner this year, surprising everyone, is a USian! He is naturally a dual citizen of Romania. We don't teach geography in the US, are you kidding me? The new GeoGuessr World Champ is one Radu Kasapu, and like the Namis, I think that's just really cool to celebrate. Dude's also been going hard this for years. His team came in second in the 2022 Team World Cup. He claimed a top 8 spot in 2023 and 2024. One of those was actually a top 4. I don't remember which one, though. And first in the 2025 US majors to get into Worlds. Damn, people are cool when they get obsessive about their thing. Well, with that, I'm going to try and sink down into here. Let's start wrapping up. If you watched live, thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, all the better. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell, all the good stuff that literally every YouTuber has to ask you to do. It helps a ton, I'm sorry. Here's my schedule for the next week. As you can see, we're going for Hollow Knight Silksong at 8 a.m. on Thursday and Friday. That should technically work. Depends on how the time wants to go. More Pokemon on Saturday and Elite Dangerous on Sunday. If you haven't been to one of my streams over at twitch.tv/fenoflore, you should probably come by because they're kind of like this, but even more loose and unscripted. Also, this, as with everything I do, is brought to you by you and viewers like you. So thank you very much to April, Fragile Paper, Manfred, Pinto, Pinball Witch, and Yalk. Little look behind the curtain, but the stream doesn't actually end here, just the scripted bit. They're sort of even more silly, because I've got a ton of stories that I'm going to talk about with chat that I wasn't able to write or that I couldn't make funny because, oh, wow. These are just the ones I thought I could make at least a little bit funny. The news was fucked up this week. And there was just so much I didn't even get to, like I mentioned the CDC thing, but the Flock AI cameras being fed to cops. There were like 4 other things. Anyway, you should check out the streams. And also fen.gay, where all of my writing and everything else goes. Bye.